Sophie, thank you. Good evening and welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. Police name a man who died as investigations continue into the cause of a huge explosion in Worksop.
Felt like my house shook. So I walked through to the front door, and there was just all this dust in my dining room. Opened the door, I was like, oh my goodness.
Some residents face a second night away from their homes. We'll be live at the scene. Also this evening, a report into last summer's riots says lessons need to be learnt to ensure police can respond more effectively. 40 years on, indie band The Wedding Present and a new musical celebrating love, loss, breakups and breakdowns. And the gym instructor from Scarborough who took on television's mighty Gladiators and came out on top.
Well, after that glorious weekend, we've had a lot of cloud around this afternoon, and that certainly heralds a change, a much more changeable week ahead. Join me for the detailed forecast.
Hello, thank you for starting the week with Look North. First tonight, a man who died in a house explosion in Worksop has been named by police as David Howard. A major incident was declared by the emergency services following the explosion on Saturday evening. Police recovered the 53-year-old's body from under the debris following the blast. 35 properties were evacuated and residents are still not back in their homes. Tom Ingle's been in Worksop for us today as those investigations continue and joins us live now from the town. Tom, what is the latest?
Phil, there's been comings and goings all day on John Street just over there in Worksop, not just the emergency services still doing their work, but also the tradespeople making a start on repairs. And of course, most heartbreaking, residents who, some, as you say, are still out of their homes. They've been coming to and from the police cordon, asking to be let through so they can pick up supplies, feed pets and take away their belongings because they still don't know when they're going to be back in. We've also seen men working on aerial platforms on the house behind me. That's the house at the heart of the explosion. That house is being demolished slowly. We've also had it confirmed that at least 2 other houses, the adjoining properties, are likely to be demolished. So 1 person has lost their lives. But 3 people, at least, have lost their home as well. Other properties are going to take some time to repair. But at the heart of this story, a human tragedy and a terrible explosion. The remnants of a house slowly picked apart brick by brick. A home where a life was lost in a catastrophic explosion on Saturday night.
I was watching the ladies' football thinking, come on England! And there's an enormous bang, absolutely. I didn't know what it was. I felt like my house shook. So I walked through to the front door, and there was just all this dust in my dining room. Opened the door, I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, and it was just crazy.
This afternoon, Nottinghamshire police confirmed the name of the man who had died.
I'd like to firstly extend my deepest condolences to the daughters, the wider family and the friends of the victim in this case, who I'm able now to name as David Howard, who was 53 years old. I'd also like to thank very much the local community and the wider people of Worksop who've been incredibly helpful and incredibly patient while we've been going through the painstaking ordeal of trying to start to ascertain exactly what's happened.
It's clear that a number of properties will not be able to be reoccupied for a considerable period of time, and we'll be working with the property owners to look at what's needed to do to respond to that.
They just going to check if I could at least go in and get some clean clothes and my medication. After that, I'm not sure.
Are you staying with friends or family?
No, the council put me in a hotel last night, which was good.
It was not a nice situation. I feel still not safety. My son actually as well, he has trauma because he says, I don't know what will be next. Maybe for 2 days will be another explosion, and I feel a little bit scary. He don't want to back to home actually, and he says, should I maybe move somewhere? No, stay here.
This car was parked across the street from the house at the heart of the explosion. The damage is clear. Repairing it and investigating what happened will take up the days and weeks to come. A violent cataclysm visited upon the quietest of town streets, which has left sorrow and shock behind. One other update from the scene here this evening. The gas network people, Cadent, have sent out a statement saying at this stage there's no indication this incident was caused by our network. It seems we're not going to know the cause of this explosion for some time. OK, Tom, live in Worksop, thank you very much. Tom Ingle there. Next tonight, a committee of MPs has said some police forces were unprepared for the level of violence that broke out after the murder of 3 children in Southport last summer. In Manvers in South Yorkshire, a hotel housing asylum seekers was attacked. The report says lessons need to be learnt to ensure police can respond more effectively. Bethany Parsons reports.
Large-scale disorder here at the Holiday Inn Express resulted in more than 60 police officers being injured as rioters started fires and threw dangerous items towards the hotel and police. The hotel was home to more than 200 asylum seekers. It was one of multiple serious incidents that followed the fatal stabbing of BB King, Elsie Stankham and Elise de Siva Aguirre in Southport just days earlier. According to South Yorkshire Police, more than 100 people were charged in connection with the disorder here in Rotherham, and more than 80 of those people will spend time behind bars, a combined total of 213 years of jail time. Today, the Home Affairs Committee published a report into the police response. It praised the courage of the officers and said claims of two-tier policing were unsubstantiated. But it also found that forces were unprepared for the level of violence and it was taken for granted that things would remain peaceful. The report described an information vacuum that allowed disinformation to flourish online.
We need to make sure that that vacuum that we had, where there simply wasn't information being put out by the authorities, there was merely misinformation on social media, that we make sure that we can correct that quickly and that the authorities can actually demonstrate to people that this was misinformation, this simply wasn't true. People were acting on the basis of what they'd seen on social media, not what was the reality.
The report says that lessons need to be learnt so that police can respond effectively in the future. It also says the government should provide more money if needed to improve future responses. The government says they are working closely with policing to improve national decision making and to ensure that officers get the support they need to keep our streets safe. In a statement, South Yorkshire Police say the violent disorder in Manvers last August had a lasting impact on the well-being of officers and staff. They thank the report for recognising the bravery and professionalism of officers and acknowledge the recommendations and say they will consider those alongside those already made and those yet to come. Zlakar believes the issue stretches further back than the riots of that particular day. She supports black and minoritised women, including asylum seekers and refugees.
As a community, there was a real horror and fear that gripped everybody because of the past history that we've had in Rotherham, and there's various factors contributing towards that. Many women from our communities and families still have a sense of fear in terms of when they go out.
From a policing point of view, it's hoped changes will improve responses to such a situation. But for others, it's hoped that such a situation will simply not happen again. Beth Parsons, BBC Look North, Rotherham.
OK, thanks, Beth. Right, time to turn to some sports news now with the details. Here's Sal. Sal.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, a bumper weekend of sport. But let's start with football because there are just 4 games left for our teams this season. Leeds United went back up to the top of the Championship and moved closer to a return to the Premier League with a 2-1 victory over Preston. All 3 goals were scored in the first half, including this magnificent 20-yard curler from Manor Solomon. Leeds' vastly superior goal difference means 7 points from their remaining 4 games will now be enough to guarantee promotion. But Sheffield United have slipped into 3rd place after losing to bottom of the table Plymouth Argyle. United went ahead in the first half with this from Jessamine Raksaki, but Plymouth scored 2 late goals to make it 2-1. And Blades manager Chris Wilder admits his team now needs a big week.
And you can't lose 3 games at this stage of the season and expect to be knocking on the door and trying to get out of the division. And and we put ourselves in a great position after the Coventry game, and basically we've let it slip. So we have to own that and take responsibility and the players' responsibility for a really poor week in terms of results.
In League One, also slipping are Huddersfield Town, who lost 3-0 to relegation fighters Burton Albion. They're now 5 points outside the playoff places. But there was a boost for Barnsley fans. The Tykes beat playoff hopefuls Bolton Wanderers 4-1. Fabio Jallo and Jonathan Russell both scored twice to secure Conor Hourihan's first win as interim head coach. In League Two, Bradford dropped down to second in the table after a dramatic 5-4 loss at Swindon. Callum Kavanagh's hat-trick put the Bantams 3-1 ahead inside 35 minutes, but with the Bantams down to 10 men, Swindon hit back. The scoreline levelled at 4-4 before Jack Shepherd's stoppage time own goal made it 5-4. Bradford are now 3 points below leaders Port Vale. Doncaster also had an eventful game against fellow promotion rivals Wimbledon. Both teams had a player sent off and both scored once, with the Rovers' goal coming from Jamie Sterry to equalise at 79 minutes. Doncaster are fourth in the table, just 1 point below Walsall. And Chesterfield kept their playoff hopes alive with a 3-0 victory over Fleetwood. They are ninth in the table, 4 points off the playoff places. Let's turn to cricket now, and Yorkshire fans couldn't have asked for a better first home match of the season with a record-breaking victory over Worcestershire. Dom Jess posted his maiden century in the county championship before lunch on day 3, before Yorkshire's bowlers wrapped up a 504-run victory in double quick time. Now that is the biggest victory in terms of runs in the competition's 135-year history. The Sheffield Steelers will defend their Elite Ice Hockey League title after a playoff quarter-final victory over Glasgow. They had to push hard for the 5-4 aggregate overtime win over Glasgow Clan. It means they've qualified for the Elite League playoff finals weekend in Nottingham, where they'll face the Panthers on their home ice in the semi-final. And the Sheffield Olympic diver Jordan Holden claimed the first global gold of his career at the Aquatics World Cup in Canada. Holden was second in the standings of the men's 3-metre springboard as he headed into his closing dive, and it was spectacular. Have a look at this. He ended on a huge 470 points, more than 30 clear of the USA. The result leaves him second overall heading into May's super final in China. A huge breakthrough for this. Now, for something different, let's go to Rotherham, where South Yorkshire Sports Club has a remarkable number of twins playing in its youth team. Rotherham Hockey Club currently boasts 5 sets of twins amongst their junior ranks. Simon Thake has this.
You could say there's something in the water around here. Rotherham Hockey Club has around 60 junior members. 10 of them are part of a twin. We have Mabel and Florence, the youngest, at 5. Violet and Daisy, they're 9. Harriet and Finola are 10. 12-year-olds Francesca and Joseph. And finally, the eldest, 17-year-old Eve, and sister Charlotte. So is being a twin an advantage on the pitch?
I love it in a sense of, like, as someone being in the middle, like, I can look over and I know what Charlotte's going to do. So I know when to pass to her, I know when not to pass to her, but I also know what's going to annoy her. So, like...
Where's he go? There you go, Eden. Nice.
I think they call that sibling rivalry. So what does the coach make of all this?
It's very odd. As the years go on, you start to get more people, more kids come in, and you think, there's another set there, there's another set there, there's another set there, and then before you know it, there's 5. And it's like, there's something special about that.
You can't say at 5 years old that they're actually kind of got to that stage where they look for each other particularly much. There's a lot of swinging sticks and kind of trying to run around and hit a ball every so often. But yeah, the squabbling kind of, it does kind of continue in the hit bits and starts. But, you know, in general, they do get along very, very well in the sport and passing backwards and forwards to each other. And yeah, it's a great kind of sport to kind of get involved in.
Obviously, when they're playing together or when they're training together, it's nice to have that little family connection, because we're a very big family club. We've got a lot of fathers and sons, brothers and sisters that aren't twins but are still family members, and just having the special connection of twins opposed to just having siblings or parents, it's just that added little pizzazz that we like to add to this club.
Simon Thake, BBC Look North, Rotherham.
Thank you, Simon. Now, just days after a fire on Marsden Moor, emergency services are tonight attending a blaze on moorland near Home Firth. West Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service were called to the fire off Greenland Road earlier this afternoon, with 12 crews attending the scene. Ollie Constable has the latest for us.
Another day, another fire. It seems all too often that we're standing here on moorland over West Yorkshire talking about the latest wildfire. This one on the moorland above Home Firth. This is the heart of the operation here, where firefighters are tackling this latest blaze. We needed a police escort to get through one of the road closures to get us as close as we are, so we can bring you these pictures showing the firefighters working hard with paddles and blowers trying to extinguish this blaze. It's difficult to show the scale of this, but to give you an idea, this is now spanning 2 counties, West Yorkshire and Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Services, both working together to try and tackle it. Specialist kit being used, as well as specialist teams with wildfire expertise to help bring this to an end as soon as possible. Well, this has been burning since about 2 o'clock this afternoon, with a northeasterly wind pushing it further and further across the moorlands, making it really hard for firefighters to try and contain. It's not really a surprise, unfortunately, that this has happened in the way that it has. We've had a really dry and sunny March, coupled with a really dry April as well. No real significant rainfall, meaning that this moorland is so incredibly dry. We know about the warnings, no naked flames and disposable barbecues on moorlands, but this just shows the devastating impact that it can cause. We don't know the cause of this. There'll be an investigation, no doubt, that will follow to find out all the facts, but it shows just how quickly it can take hold. The A635 Greenfield to Home Firth Road is closed while crews continue to tackle the blaze, but this is the second fire that we've had on the moorland in just a few days. The first one being in March Hague Reservoir just a few days ago, and of course we're only in the middle of April, so there are worries that this could be a very long and hard summer for the firefighters tackling fires on the moorland. Ollie Constable, BBC Look North, on the moors over Home Firth.
Thanks, Ollie, and of course we'll have more on the late edition of Look North tonight at 10:30. Now, in the world of rock and roll, few bands stay the course, but the Leeds indie band The Wedding Present are still going strong 40 years after the release of their first single in 1985. And now a York-based director's written a musical using some of the songs as his musical score. Kathy Killick is to meet them.
It's been in my head, but I've never said.
In its 40-year history, the indie band The Wedding Present has made some devoted fans and a record or two, famously getting 12 singles into the top 40 in a single year, a feat achieved only by them and Elvis Presley. They met as students and started their performing career at Leeds University. Today, the frontman and founder, David Gedge, is back where it all started, in the Students' Union in 1985.
There was about half a dozen various venues in this complex, ranging from very small ones to the refectory, which was, I think, 2,000 capacity. And as the band got bigger, we played them all, working up the scale really. So, yeah, I mean, I've not been here for decades, but yeah, it's got a large part of me's in there really.
The Wedding Present have never shied from doing things differently, at one point recording Ukrainian folk songs and publishing a book about the band. And they're poised to try a new venture, a musical called Reception, which will premiere in Leeds in the summer. It'll use around 28 of their 300 songs.
That's the excellent Wedding Present in Verkhovenia.
David's here to meet theatre director and fan Matt Aston, who's devised the show.
Come in, take a seat. It's based around a group of Leeds University students who are graduating friends at university, and we follow them through a variety of receptions, hence the name, over 3 or 4 years. So we have a graduation ceremony, a stag do, a funeral, a wedding, and of course a wedding reception.
Part of the inspiration came from a gig when the group played their songs as big band arrangements, which could work in a musical.
It's usually ABBA, or it's kind of pop, and we're, at the end of the day, we're an alternative kind of rock band, so it kind of follows that tradition really of the wedding present doing things which are a bit out of the ordinary. So I said, yeah, okay, let's do it.
The band are performing in Leeds in May, and the musical opens in August at the Warehouse in Holbeck. Cathy Gillick, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Now, if you've been watching Look North over the past few weeks, you'll know about the gymnast from Scarborough who took on the BBC Mighty Gladiators. Over the weekend, Joe Fishburn reigned victorious, winning the show's final and being crowned champion. He's been celebrating the win back at his old gymnastics club. Johnny Reid was there.
After breaking records on the BBC's Gladiators, it was always expected Scarborough contender Joe Fishburn would go far in the competition. But on Saturday night, he went the whole way, winning the final and being crowned champion.
I cannot believe it. I can't tell you how amazing it feels. The whole highlight of the thing, I think, was kind of how the family came together to support us. And it was never, this is me to win. It was always like, this is our story, let's share it. Christine being there, there's been so many times where I've competed abroad and she's not got to travel. To see me winning, even in the first round, going through the paper and then getting to see her and just everybody loving her, it was genuinely the best moment of my life.
24 hours after watching his winning moment with family and friends, and of course his grandma Christine, Joe was back to his gymnastics club at the Scarborough Gymnastics Academy, a place he's been training at since he was 5. Alongside him was his trainer Roddy, who has also had a run-in with the Gladiators, competing as a contender in 1993.
I knew he could do it, but as an individual, he has the most amazing ability to adapt and all the skills that are needed for the show, and I just wish him the best of luck.
Boom! The younger gymnasts who Joe helps train got their turn to catch up with the man himself who took on the Gladiators and won. So, has he inspired them to take on the arena?
Maybe when I'm older, potentially.
Yeah, it's too much.
Too much? What about you, Ben?
Looks too hard. It makes me think, I think maybe I could have a go at that.
Which gladiator would you want to face?
Legend, I like him. He's a bit smaller than the other gladiators, so I think I could have a bit of a better chance of winning.
Well, look out, Legend. Thankfully, Gladiators will be back next year and Joe will be a hard act to follow. But it looks like there'll be plenty of future contenders who'll give it a go. Johnny Reid, BBC Look North, Scarborough.
And many congratulations to Joe from all of us at Look North as well. Now, Paul's here. Weather's starting to go off a bit, Paul, but I believe you've had quite a few interesting pictures sent to you in
Really
recent days.
interesting as part of this feature we do on a Monday. So we'll get straight on with the first one. This was seen across West and North Yorkshire, this halo around the sun. That's caused by the refraction of sunlight through ice crystals in cirrus cloud that's around about 30,000 feet up in the sky. Now, many of you saw the next couple of pictures. This was both mornings this weekend. Fantastic moon there taken over Leeds. Why is it so big? Well, this was news to me. I looked on the NASA website and apparently it's so big that's an optical illusion. The brain misinterprets the moon being larger than it is compared with when it's actually in the sky. And that particular picture was taken near Wakefield. Absolutely brilliant. So thanks very much for sending those in. If you've got any questions you want me to answer, every Monday night you can see the address and the telephone number and the QR code is on your screen right now. And let's not forget how nice it was this weekend. With the first picture in the next sequence is Scarborough. Now, you don't often see that at the start of April, but there are actually people in the sea sunbathing. What a day it was. It actually turned out to be I think the second warmest day of the year so far, and this was Whitby before it clouded over today. A beautiful skyline there. Send the pictures in on X, on Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. So tomorrow does look quite unsettled. In fact, it's a changeable week. Rather cloudy tomorrow. There will be some patchy rain. There's a lot of uncertainty about the positioning of the rain. Most of it looks as though it's going to be towards the coast in the morning. But as you can see from this, 2 areas of low pressure drifting up from the south. So it's a very different scene compared with what we've had in April so far. So the satellite picture tells its own story because cloud is beginning to invade from the south. Currently, just the odd shower around. There is, though, a lot of cloud. That will continue to thicken overnight. A bit of patchy rain in places, but I think the main area of rain creeping up the eastern side of our region into maybe Scarborough by the end of the night. We'll see lowest temperatures down to 7 or 8 degrees. Tomorrow's high water times then Scarborough 6:15, Bridlington at 6:35. So very wet across more eastern areas first thing. To the west, mostly dry, rather cloudy. It should brighten in the afternoon. 1 or 2 showers breaking out, but I think the main area of rain will be across eastern areas during tomorrow morning. Temperatures around 13 or 14 degrees. Wednesday, rather cloudy with scattered showers, and then Thursday into the Easter weekend, some bright or sunny spells. Showers, though, never far away. That's the forecast.
If nothing else, it's worth tuning in just for Weather View on a Monday, is it not?
Exactly.
You've been warned. We'll be back tonight at 10:30 with more of this. In the meantime, do enjoy the rest of your Monday evening. Good night.